Hey folks, I realize someone's probably going to ask this on the 2000 subs Q&A special thing, but I figured I would strike while the iron is hot and talk about the recently released trailer for the new Pokemon games. Generation 6, Pokemon X, and Pokemon Y. And if you haven't seen the trailer yet, I'll put a link down in the description for you. And generally this is just going to be, oh boy, I like this, or I don't like this kind of stuff, but I know people like opinions. So, starting with the starters, because that's what you do, you start with starters. You've got Chespin, who is a something. Well, there's my first issue. I don't really know what Chespin is. He's kind of like a chipmunk, I guess, maybe? I think his name is, in some language, is derived from hedgehog. But as far as I can tell, he's just kind of a generic cute thing. With a silly hat, I guess. So I don't know what he is, but I probably like him the most out of the three starters, just in terms of pure aesthetics. So take that as you will. I do like that his palette is primarily brown rather than primarily green. That's something that more grass starters I think should do. Turtwig sort of did it. But it's a nice little way to mix things up a little bit. You've got Fennekin, who is like a fennec fox, a specific kind of fox. People like this specific kind of fox, I guess. I don't like the ear tufts, but I realize that's just a generic thing that some species of animals have. I think it looks kind of silly, to be honest, and I hope that it doesn't become drastically out of control and overtake its face in future evolutions, like Stoutland's mustache. Other than that, it's pretty inoffensive. It's not over-designed in any way. It's pretty simple. It's something that a kindergartner could draw from memory pretty darn easily. So I'd give that a pass. Then Froakie, I don't know. I don't like frogs much to begin with, but I guess it's a frog. I don't know. I'm struggling to articulate why it doesn't really do it for me. Maybe it's because of the more angular football-shaped head. It's not as ultra big kawaii desune starter kind of thing that I like. Maybe it's the two like circle white circles that are on its like nose or mustache. If that develops into a fuller mustache, I'll probably retroactively change my opinion on it. But right now, it's... I don't know if it's like bubbly, I don't know. I'm not sold on it, maybe just because I don't like frogs very much. That's entirely possible. Moving on from the starters, this is the first Pokemon game that on a mainline Pokemon game on a handheld console that will be done in full 3D. Both the battles and the overworld are in full 3D renders. And we've got some images of the protagonist, and you've got various environments. Apparently the region is going to be based on France. It's what it looks like from Pikachu introducing the trailer and shooting a thunderbolt off of the Eiffel Tower, and then there's a screenshot of the protagonist running away from an Eiffel Tower-like place. So there'll be Poke France, I guess. But this 3D business, it's about time. I don't think they could have gotten away with going 2D for any longer, however good Generation 5 managed to look with the moving sprites. I think they would have gotten into some trouble if they tried to run with that a little bit more. My one concern about 3D in the overworld, based on just on this one trailer, it looks like they're still binding themselves to the grid movement system. Like, it's not true 3D, you can't move diagonal. Just based on what I saw in the trailer, it looked like environments were designed for very straight, linear movement, and there's one point where they made a sharp 90-degree angle turn rather than just moving diagonally, which leads me to think that it's not a full 360 degree of movement. Which is unfortunate, because I think it's physically possible to do that now. You're doing a pretty good job of disguising it in the visuals of the area. So, I don't know what's so difficult. I mean, you did it for Animal Crossing or whatever. 3D movement is not a strange technology that's not been explored. And I don't know, maybe there's some gameplay mechanic that requires good, like, grid-based movement. I don't buy it. I think that's an archaic mechanic that really needs to get out of the way. And if they are actually getting out of the way and I'm just misinterpreting the visuals in the trailer, that's great. But that's kind of my reservation here. 3D on the side of the battles. Let's see if there are any screenshots. No, Bulbapedia does not have any screenshots of the 3D battles. What I really hope is that they can manage to make the camera dynamic and interesting enough to keep the battles interesting, basically. I popped in Pokemon Battle Revolution yesterday for, like, the first time in years, and it was stunning just how boring it was to watch. The animations were slow, and even though, like, Pokemon were making contact with each other and reacting, everything was just so static and boring and uninteresting and lifeless that I got bored. And then I got a disk read error, and I didn't care. So I'm hoping that they can avoid that. I don't know if they will, because this is Pokemon, we're talking about Game Freak. They make a technological advancement, but don't really iron out all the kinks perfectly, and they're like, hey, what more do you want? We finally went to 3D. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. And I'm hoping, like, the adrenaline of, oh my god, Generation 6 3D on my 3DS, will kind of tide over any issues like that I might have on future playthroughs. But it's scary. I mean, it's not going to be a game breaker, obviously, but I really hope that they do their best, at least. Make an effort, show that they tried. Because A for effort is always a good thing for me. And then, when we talk to Protagonist Designs, we didn't get a very good look at the female protagonist, but the male protagonist looks a lot like Hilbert, and whatever the name from Black and White 2 male protagonist is. For some reason, they really... And actually, Lucas's Platinum redesign as well. They've really gone with the blue-on-bottom, red hat design in recent games, except this guy has ultra long hair because he's the Bishi. Again, it's inoffensive. He's not over-designed in any way. He has some weird sunglasses, I guess, on top of his hat brim. I don't know what those are about. It's not a practical place for them. But it's a simple design. It's a lot better than, I think, Black and White 2's male protagonist, who had, like, poofy hair, and I don't even know what the hell. It's just blue coat, blue pants, blue bag, red hat. It's simple, and it looks pretty good, I would say. It's nothing crazy. And we only got a few glimpses of the female protagonist, but she looks pretty similar, not similar, but simple as well. Looks like a red clothing with a red hat, long blonde hair, kind of like Caitlyn. Again, simple, pretty memorable. I might change my mind once I get a better view at her. But for now, it looks pretty simple, pretty inoffensive. They are not overcomplicating designs, I think, for these games so far. And I'm hoping they continue that trend, but after seeing the legendaries, I don't know. And the legendaries are kind of crazy often by design. But, like, we got the X deer, I assume the deer, the one straight out of the Miyazaki film, is the X dude, because he had X's in his eyes. But then when you look at him, like, standing there, his horns branch out like this from the torso, and it looks like a Y, so I don't know. he's got all sorts of weird neon, like, crazy colors in his horns, and he has random markings on his body, and he's, like, not even horns, I don't know, they're things coming out of his shoulder blades, and I don't know what those are. And he has, like, crazy ears, I don't know, he has a bunch of superfluous things. And I guess that's okay for a legendary, especially one who has a bunch of horns, because you can have superfluous things, but I don't know, I'm not sold on him. And then you've got a legendary bird of sorts, who, when spread eagle like that, looks like a Y, so there's that. And actually, I like the bird a lot more, because even though he does have kind of a bunch of extraneous markings up top, the basis of his design is black on top, red on bottom, and I think it looks pretty good, even if it's kind of an overdone color palette combination. And it's more elegant, I would say, than the deer. Like, as Miyazaki as the deer is, the bunch of crazy horns coming out of his head looks silly. It always has. I say that about the Spirited Mononoke as well. But, like, the legendaries kind of need to be over-designed at this point. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's the design that they feel they have to take. Reshiram and Zekrom, despite their simple color palettes, did have a lot going on with them, but I feel like that struck a good balance between simplicity and kind of weird extraneous things. Here, I think they're leaning a bit more on the weird extraneous things, like they did in Generation 4. But it's legendaries, I feel like they do that a lot. I don't know if that'll be the case for the new designs for a lot of the other Pokemon. And I'm not going to find out until October 2013. Just to remind all of you who have been around here before for release of a new Pokemon game, and those of you who are new, I'm the type of person who absolutely, completely, 100% avoids all news about an upcoming Pokemon game up until its release and through my first playthrough. Because I want to go in as fresh as possible. I want to see the new Pokédex in-game, like, organically, rather than on a listing on Bulbapedia or on Cerebi. I want to experience it like I'm a kid again. I did this for every game since Heart Gold, and it's worked out pretty darn well for me. So that means my channel from here on out is a spoiler-free zone. You can discuss the trailer and nothing else. Except the release date, clearly. But that's that. But yeah, those are my basic reactions to the Generation 6 trailer. Again, check it out in the description if you haven't seen it already. And I'm looking forward to these games as a general thing. I think they've got some good ideas going. It's a matter of not screwing them up. But this is Game Freak, so who knows? They very well could.